It's always fascinating when sports stars with some name recognition believe they can get away with murder. How do they go back to their team and continue to play, knowing they have taken a life and could be caught at any time? That is one of many questions hovering over Chance Comanche in this true crime story. He has just confessed to murder after his arrest in a missing persons case. Today, we're going to look at this ongoing true crime case and uncover some of the more heartbreaking details. It seems that Comanche wasn't alone in a detailed plot to kill his victim. There was a detailed plan, from the method of her murder to the crime scene, and how to handle the situation afterward. The more that comes out about the investigation and the motive of the pair involved, the more incredible it gets. Once you've seen the video, please leave us your thoughts in the comment section below. We're curious to see which suspect you think will get the strongest punishment. Do you believe Chance Comanche is just an accomplice here and will have a more lenient sentence? Or are his actions before and after the murder enough to send him away for life? At the beginning of December this year, a young woman went missing outside Las Vegas. After a long search and some incriminating evidence, an NBA basketball player ended up under arrest. Eventually, he would confess to murdering the women via strangulation and that he wasn't acting alone. In today's true crime video, we're going to look at the unfolding murder investigation of Morena Rogers and the actions of Chance Comanche. Keep watching to learn the heartbreaking details of what really happened the night she disappeared. You won't believe the brazen act that Comanche committed right after the murder when he thought he'd get away with it all. The Morena Rogers missing persons case and the arrest of Chance Comanche. This story originally began as a missing persons case. Officials declared Morena Rogers missing when her family lost track of her whereabouts. The 23-year-old was visiting Las Vegas alone from Washington State and was using her cell phone to share her location with friends and family. They could see her position and have a good idea of whether she was safe or not. The last known location of the phone was an area 11 miles south of the Las Vegas Strip at about 3 a.m. on December 6th. This was highly suspicious that late at night and so far from the city. Her family was also sure she couldn't have planned to go off the radar like this. She didn't have much access to money and had so many ties to her home in Washington. She was a medical assistant and appeared to have a good life at work and home. It is unclear how many knew of Morena's other occupation as a sex worker in the Las Vegas area. That is a detail that is crucial in this whole true crime case. The police soon got involved and investigated her disappearance. Eventually, they would hold 2 suspects on suspicion of kidnapping. This changed when one suspect, Chance Comanche, confessed to murder by strangulation. This was now a murder case, and they had a body to recover outside of Las Vegas. If you are unfamiliar with the name Chance Comanche about NBA basketball, don't worry. So are a lot of basketball fans in California. The press will continue to run stories about his guy with NBA in the headlines to make it seem like some million-dollar star had a shocking fall from grace. This isn't some superstar Laker who killed a prostitute on the sly to hide his secret kinks. Comanche was part of the NBA G League, playing for the Stockton Kings. They brought him to their roster on November 3rd. He left for a while and was unable to settle with a team, spending some time in Portland and a whole 10 days with Sacramento before being waived. He then returned to the Stockton Kings. His level of talent for the game is now completely redundant following his confession. Chance Comanche didn't act alone. One surprising aspect of this case is that there was a high degree of pre-planning here. The death of a prostitute in Nevada screams crime of passion. A customer who wanted to get his kicks differently, some dangerous play gone wrong, or a dispute over the transaction. Instead, this was a murder a long time in the making. The reason for this was the third person in this gruesome triangle. Comanche did not act alone. He had an accomplice who not only knew Morena, but had a motive. Comanche's accomplice in all of this was a woman called Sakari Harnden. She had a long and complicated past with both Comanche and Morena. Sakari Harnden was the 19-year-old former girlfriend of Comanche. The pair met on an app and dated briefly before splitting up. It appears they remained friends, or certainly friendly enough for Comanche to agree to help her murder someone. Harnden was also the first arrested in this true crime story. She entered custody 2 days before the police caught up with Comanche. They charged her with first-degree kidnapping while treating Morena's case as a disappearance. This later changed to a murder charge once the truth came out. As well as knowing Comanche, Harnden also knew Morena. She is the glue in this story that takes this from being another standard case of a random man killing a sex worker to one of revenge and calculation. The pair apparently worked together in the Vegas area. They don't appear to have been the best of friends, but were amicable and professional when they needed to be. This connection would end up playing a massive role in the murder plot. An interesting additional detail with this case is that Harnden also faces a charge of theft for stealing a Rolex watch. While this was originally reported to be unrelated to the kidnapping case, this might not be true. The story is that Harnden and Morena argued over a Rolex. Apparently, Morena threatened to smoke Harnden if she didn't hand the watch over. Logically, this suggests that the watch was Morena's, and she was trying to get it back. That threat against Harnden may have been the final straw and enough motive. Before that, however, Harnden went as far as to implicate Morena's boyfriend in a double murder case, leading to his arrest. The two had an altercation over it on December 4th, the day before Morena's murder. The whole situation was a massive pressure cooker where one of the women was sure to explode on the other. That makes what happened more curious. If you are enjoying this video so far, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. This will give you easy access to more great videos on true crime cases. We love diving into new stories that don't always go the way you expect. So far, this case definitely fits that description. The relationship between Morena and Harnden is a surprise. However, you must keep watching to see how twisted this murder plan got. How did Chance Comanche and Sakari Harnden kill Morena Rogers? Together, the Harnden and Comanche considered ways to kill Morena. There were thoughts of poisoning her or simply shooting her. They even consulted a hitman to do it for them, offering $3,000 for the kill. Eventually that fell through. So how did they do it? When the plan to use a hitman failed, they decided to take matters into their own hands. They devised a plan to trick Morena into meeting them, create a situation where she was vulnerable to murder, and then strangle her. The first part wasn't too difficult. Despite their past differences and the issues with the watch, the pair agreed to work together on a job. The idea was that Harnden had managed to get in touch with someone keen on a three-way with the two girls. They would meet him, play along with his kinks, and make some decent money for it. The catch was that this client was into some kinky play involving bondage. Of course, Comanche showed up at the crime scene as the so-called client, and acted like he didn't know either girl. Comanche's demand was that Morena would have her wrists bound together during sex. This wasn't anything too weird, and she went along with the idea. Comanche brought along some zip ties for a strong restraint. Amateur enough not to look like he'd been planning for it for months, but practical enough for his needs. The two girls then began to get intimate in the front seat. The next part was more brutal and oddly specific. When planning the murder, Comanche had already suggested strangulation as a good option. He wrote the following in a group conversation between him, Harnden, and the hitman who backed out. "If you get a nice little thick piece of rope or some sturdy, I can do it from the back seat. Like how the killers do it in the movies." It sounds like something he wanted to try for himself. In the end, he took a simple HDMI cord and wrapped it around her neck. Meanwhile, Harnden worked on choking her while still straddling her. Reports state that this went on for just 10 seconds before Comanche released his grip. They stopped when they saw fluid coming out of Morena's mouth and believed she was dead. Covering up the murder. What makes this case even more damning for this pair, and looks set to lead to some serious jail time, is the aftermath. We know that this was a premeditated crime with involvement from both parties. The situation looks a lot worse for Comanche when we look at everything that happened next. There is a long, carefully considered chain of events where he tries to cover his tracks and act like nothing happened. The obvious next step for the pair was to dump the body. So, they drove out to the side of a road in Henderson, threw Morena in a ditch, and covered her with rocks to hide her. Comanche confessed that he took the time to use a towel to avoid any DNA transfer, and also smashed Roger's phone. The problem there was that the phone had the GPS tracker on it, and a lack of any response would have been even more suspicious. Comanche also tried to coach Harnden to act natural when questioned, saying it was just like a post-game interview. The casual nature of the crime and the apparent lack of remorse is chilling. Did he feel justified in killing Morena because of her past with Hardin? It couldn't have been due to any disrespect regarding her profession when he dated Hardin, who seems to have been open about her exploits. Comanche heads back to his team. The most shocking part of all of this, however, is that Comanche was still an active player at the time of the murder. This wasn't some washed-up star hitting out at the world or trying to get noticed because he'd failed in his career. In fact, he scheduled the murder around his games. Comanche was in Nevada from December 4th. He and his team had checked into the M Resort and Casino in Henderson, ready to play a game against the Ignite at the Dollar Loan Center the next night. After the game, he went back to the hotel with everyone else, behaving as normal, before leaving to meet Hardin. That was when they drove off to go and meet Morena and go through with their plan. Once everything was taken care of, Comanche returned to the hotel to rejoin the team, and it appears Hardin stayed with him. Comanche then left, as scheduled, the next morning, ready for the next game in Oregon. He would continue to play with the Stockton Kings until managers learned about the FBI's interest in him regarding Morena Rogers' disappearance. They then cut ties with him following the arrest. Comanche's admission of guilt will not only lead to the complete termination of his contract, but also the loss of any hopes of playing NBA basketball ever again. Trying the Morena Rogers murder case in court. One of the most interesting aspects of this case is that there are two people intent on carrying out this murder. They succeeded in their aim, and both deserve to go to jail for a long time for their actions. The violent act in the car is horrific enough, but we have to add in the premeditation to commit murder in this manner, and the careful destruction of evidence. A question that remains, however, is who is ultimately responsible for her death. Comanche states that he loosened his grip on the HDMI cord when he heard a change in Morena's breathing, while Hardin continued what she was doing. Who actually killed her? And who was an accessory? This is a story that can only continue to develop over time. We are a long way from any trial dates, as Comanche has only just confessed to the crime. Over the next year, we are sure to hear more about the plans and previous encounters that led to the murder. We will see who takes the biggest share of the blame and who ends up with the lighter sentence. Chance Comanche is the focus of the news stories because of his low-level fame. Sites will get more clicks saying that an NBA star killed a prostitute than saying a young couple plotted to strangle an acquaintance outside Las Vegas. The focus of the case, however, is Hardin. She was the one with the previous relationship with Morena and the motive to kill. She seems to have brought Comanche into this and used him to get what she wanted. That doesn't let Comanche off the hook in any way. He seemed more than happy to help and to put his ideas into practice. His attitude to the disposal of the body and the scheduling of the murder between games is grotesque. Remembering this case for the right reasons. The important final point to end on here is that a young medical assistant brutally lost her life that heartbreaking night. Her secondary occupation and the stardom of her murderer should bear no weight on the outcome. They wanted her dead and plotted a grand scheme to make it happen. Let us know what you think of this murder case in the comments section below. We are keen to see whether you're leaning one way or the other. Is Hardin more likely to take the brunt of the punishment for planning and strangling Morena? Or will Comanche's detailed plot and twisted attitude mean that he gets just along behind bars?